Hello, friends. The 1021 days of the war between Russia and Ukraine continues. Russians broke through the border of the Sumy region near the village of Oleksandriya, as evidenced by the deep state map. The breakthrough was from the Kursk bridgehead of the Ukrainian armed forces. The spokesman for the State Border Service of Ukraine, Shevchenko, does not deny that the Russians captured this area, but notes that it is swampy. Due to the terrain, they did not hold the defense there, and the Russians from there, as the speaker states, will not be able to develop their offensive further. The Sumy regional administration called the information about the breakthrough fake. Also, judging by the deep state map, Russian troops advanced in the area of the village of Plekhovo in the Kursk region. The Ukrainian armed forces control a smaller part of the settlement. Russian telegram channels claim that the village is already completely under their control. But the main battles are taking place in the Donetsk region. The Russians continue to advance south of Pokrovsk, where they took control of the large village of Shevchenko. According to a lieutenant of the Ukrainian armed forces with the call sign Alex, a small part of the settlement remains in the gray zone, but only because it is an area where the enemy cannot advance. Ours are not there, the soldier adds. On the deep state map, Shevchenko is still in the gray zone and is partially under the control of Russian troops. Alex also writes that the capture of Shevchenko creates a threat of enveloping Pokrovsk from the west and the Russians reaching the highway to Pavlohrad. He notes that given the terrain, Russia's further movement is possible north or northwest of Shevchenko. Currently, fighting in this direction is taking place in the south of Donetsk, and the Russians' next target will be Pivnichnyi, writes fighter Muchnoy. The commander of the Da Vinci Wolves Battalion, Filimonov, accused the command of the Ukrainian armed forces of Russia's advance near Pokrovsk. The main reason for the disaster in the Pokrovsk direction is the high command, which sets unrealistic tasks for the units. Generals who do not understand the capabilities of the units and do not know the situation on the contact line, he said. In the context of Russia's likely attempts to reach the west of Pokrovsk, the Ukrainian military says that the path to Pavlohrad is practically open from there, since there are no properly prepared fortifications. Beyond Pokrovsk towards Pavlohrad, the defense line has not moved even from its place in 3 months. The only thing they did there was dig 50-meter trenches with loopholes in 5 forest belts, purely for appearances. Nothing was done deep into the forest belts. As you can see in the photo, the boards for the cover are simply lying on the parapet, said Soldier Bunyatov, and published the photo. He also added that the path to the Dnipropetrovsk region is protected by one anti-tank ditch in the middle of a field 100 kilometers from Pokrovsk, and 1,000 dragon's teeth. Bunyatov also said that everyone has already resigned themselves to the fact that the Russians will enter Pokrovsk, but they are not very aware of the consequences this will have for the defensive capability of the Dnipropetrovsk region. The Dnipropetrovsk region is not built up in villages like Donetsk, so advances there will be faster, the military man added. The Financial Times newspaper drew attention to the problem. She writes that the Dnipropetrovsk region spent $7 million on fortifications last year, but the money invested did not bring much benefit, and work only intensified about 2 months ago. Officials told the newspaper about gaps in the defensive lines of the Ukrainian armed forces, putting the Dnipropetrovsk region at risk. In particular, the fortifications between Velyka Novosilka and Kurakhove, as well as Kurakhove and Pokrovsk, where the second line of fortifications is only being built, and the third has not even been laid yet. The fighting makes this incredibly dangerous for the builders, and the direction of the attack is constantly changing. If they attack in the direction of the Dnipropetrovsk region, we will have a threat from another direction, officials say. An infantry commander anonymously told the Financial Times that his unit moved 32 times during the war, and each time he had to build his own defensive positions and raise money for it. And the second and third lines were often built without consulting the troops, or in the wrong place, or too far from the first line. Another problem with the construction of fortifications is the mass dispatch of military engineers to stormtroopers and the mobilization of civilian builders, the publication reports. Another problematic area is Kurakhove. Russian telegram channels started writing today that the Ukrainian armed forces in Kurakhove retreated to the industrial zone of the thermal power plant. A Ukrainian fighter with the call sign Muchnoy reports that the Russians have occupied most of the Pivnichnyi microdistrict and continue to squeeze Ukrainian units out of the central part of the high-rises into the industrial zone. At the same time, he denies a planned retreat to the industrial zone. But over time, we will leave Kurakhove completely, either through the fields or along the road to Zaporizhzhia. The risk of falling under enemy FPV drones is high, so we need to calculate everything so as not to lose soldiers, the fighters said. Judging by the deep state map, most of Kurakhove is either captured by Russia or is in the gray zone. Also, according to Muchnoy, in the pocket south of Kurakhove, the settlements of Uspanivka and Ganevka have found themselves in operational encirclement, and fighting is underway in Konstantinopolsk. A difficult situation is developing in the Toretsk area. The Ukrainian armed forces have lost control over the Centralna mine and its waste heaps in Toretsk, Muchnoy reports. I will note that this was one of the central defense nodes of the Ukrainian troops in the city. Now, as Muchnoy writes, the Russians in Toretsk are trying to dislodge the Ukrainian troops from the areas west and northwest of the waste heaps. According to him, the Ukrainian armed forces hold these remnants. The price is very high, even for small pieces of territory where fierce fighting is taking place, the military man added. Muchnoy also reported that in Chasiv Yar, the Russian army advanced from the south both in the refractory plant and in the northern part of the Pivnichnyi microdistrict, thereby reaching its outskirts. According to him, the units of the Ukrainian armed forces at the refractory plant are already squeezed from three sides. Russian telegram channels claim that most of the plant has already been captured by their troops. Friends, this channel exists solely thanks to your support. If you have the opportunity and desire to support the channel, I will be very grateful to you. Thank you very much and see you in the next video.